Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I have got so much to talk to you about today. I can't talk. It's too cold. It's in the 20s out here. Thank God the wind is not blowing, because that would really be annoying. Anyway, the dogs are getting me all tangled up here. Stay tuned. You're not going to want to miss today's show, because I've got some great updates for you, including the Richard Allen arrest in the Delphi murder cases. You're not going to want to miss the probable cause affidavit. It was released. What's in it? Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Crafting Journey here. That Journey, check over on Instagram. Check out my Instagram. And also, check out my second YouTube channel. The link to that is down in the descriptions. That's called The Leftovers. That is where I do reselling. I'll take you on tours of Goodwills, thrift shops, things like that. I'm working on this blanket. I started this last year, so I got it out. Two reasons. Because it's cold as bejesus. And I can sit and crochet and talk to you and keep warm. Yep. I got my coffee right here. It says snow day. It's not snowing. If we had any precipitation, it would be snowing, because it's cold out there. It's in the 20s, but no snow. It's just wishful thinking on my part. What? And we have lots to get to today. I will get to that. This is a hat that I loom knitted a few years ago with my friend Narrate. She did one, I did one. And it was such a difficult pattern that I will never attempt it again. But I remember starting this thing over 3, 4, 5 times, because I was determined to get it right. Because this has this spiral pattern. It was just weird. But anyway, I did it. So let's talk about the Delphi murder cases. This is a little area outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. Libby German, who was 14 years old at the time, and Abigail Williams, who was 13 years old, were murdered in February of 2017. The girls had the day off from school. They decided that they wanted to go out to this hiking area to take pictures. There's a bridge out there. Their sister, they convinced, one of the girls convinced her sister to drop her off out there. And the timeline to this is very critical, but I'm not going to go into that detail with you, but convinced her sister to drop her off out there, the two of the girls. And when they were done taking the pictures, they would call and she'd come back and get them. So they never called. So they went missing when nobody could find them. They were found the next day, murdered. Now, up till this point, and this is, like I said, 2017, 4 years, nobody knew what happened to them. The autopsies were sealed, so nobody knew. And then all of a sudden, in October of 2022, we get this arrest of Richard Allen, 50-year-old Richard Allen, who has no criminal record, and the probable cause affidavit that was used in support of this arrest was sealed. So I think you may recall a few shows back, last week there was a hearing, right before Thanksgiving, there was a hearing where the defense was asking that this thing be unsealed. And, that we need the public's help. And the defense was saying, listen, my client did not do this. We want the public's help in getting the real killer. And I think if you release this probable cause affidavit, it might help. You've been espousing this thing for 5 years, asking the public for their help. Now let's get the information out there. So the judge, she didn't rule right away, but after consideration, there was a ruling, and it did come out with redactions. So there's apparently several witnesses that also saw this man that day out in this area. We have a video. One of the girls on her phone, they found a video of this man on the bridge. Now, up to this date, we were only privy to part of this video. They only released a part of it showing this man walking and telling the girls to go down the hill. It's kind of a really haunting video. So he tells them to go down the hill. And then, so what was actually on this video? I'm going to read the probable cause affidavit because I think this is important. It came out. It's public now. I want to read it to you because I think this sheds a lot of light on what happened in this case. And, you know, maybe there is someone out there that can help. All right. It was 8 pages long and quite detailed. It won't take me that long to read it, but page 8 didn't get released. Only the first 7 pages. And like I said, it's redacted. A lot of the witness names are because several of them were juveniles, so their names have all been redacted. So let me just skip down to the relevant portion. All right, here we go. On February 14, 2017, Victim 1 and Victim 2 were found deceased in the woods approximately 0.2 miles northeast of Monon High Bridge in Carroll County. Their bodies were located on the north side of Deer Creek. At the time, the Monon High Bridge trail was approximately 1 mile gravel trail terminating at the Monon High Bridge. The Monon High Bridge is an abandoned railroad inside approximately a quarter mile long, spanning the Deer Creek and Deer Creek Valley on the southeast end of the trail. And then it goes into exactly where this thing is, like exactly. The majority of the trail is a wooded area with a steep embankment on the south side of the trail. The entirety of the trail and the location of the girls' bodies are located in Carroll County, Indiana. So that's where the venue will lie. Through interviews, reviews of electronic records, and review of the video of the Hoosier Harvest Store investigators believe Victim 1 and Victim 2 were dropped off across from the Mears farm at 1:49 p.m. on February 13, 2017 by blank. The Mears farm is located on the north side of the county road, 300 north, and then it goes into the description of that. No witnesses saw them at this time. A video from Victim 2's phone shows that at 2:13 p.m., Victim 1 and Victim 2 encountered a male subject on the southeast portion of the Monon High Bridge. The male ordered the girls down the hill. Or guys down the hill. No witnesses saw them after this. No outgoing communications were found on Victim 2's phone after this time. Their bodies were discovered the next day. The video recovered from Victim 2's phone shows Victim 1 walking southeast on the Monon High Bridge while a male subject wearing a dark jacket and jeans walks behind her. As the male subject approaches Victim 1 and Victim 2, one of the victims mentions gun. Near the end of the video, a male is seen and heard telling the girls, guys, down the hill. The girls then begin to proceed down the hill and the video ends. A still photograph taken from the video and the guys down the hill audio was subsequently released to the public to assist investigators in identifying the male. And we all saw that numerous times. Quite haunting. Victim 1 and Victim 2's deaths were ruled as homicide. Clothes were found in the Deer Creek belonging to Victim 1 and Victim 2 south of where their bodies were located. There was also a .40 caliber unspent round less than 2 feet away from the Victim 2's body between Victim 1 and Victim 2's bodies. The round was unspent and had extraction marks on it. Several people were witnesses and also saw this man that day, and they all described what he was wearing. No other person, no one saw any other male, even close to the description of the guy on the video that day. I'm trying to go forward to see how they actually narrowed it down to Richard Allen. Okay. Investigators reviewing prior trips encountered a tip narrative from an officer who interviewed Richard Allen in 2017. That narrative stated, Mr. Allen was on the trail between 1:30 and 2:30. He parked on the old Farm Bureau building and was walking to the new Freedom Bridge. While at the Freedom Bridge, he saw 3 females. He noted one was taller and had brown and black hair. He did not remember description, nor did he speak with them. He walked from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge. He did not see anybody, although he stated he was watching a stock ticker on his phone as he walked. He stated there were vehicles parked on the High Bridge trailhead, however, did not pay attention to them. He did not take any photos or videos. So they had his cell phone number. So they decided they would investigate this Richard Allen. They discovered that he owned 2 vehicles in 2017. Investigators observed a vehicle that resembled Allen's 2016 Ford Focus on the Hoosier Harvester video at 1:27 p.m., which coincided with his statement that he arrived at 1:30 at the trails. Investigators note witnesses described the vehicle parked at the former Child Protective Services building as a PT Cruiser, small SUV, or smart car. Investigators believe those descriptions are similar in nature to the 2016 Ford Focus. So this is how they narrow it down to Richard Allen. They finally get a search warrant for his house. They find this .40 caliber weapon. They test it against the unspent bullet, and the markings do support that that bullet came from that gun. That's how we get to Richard Allen. Yeah. Okay. Plus, he had a jacket that matches, and he still owns the jacket. He has a jacket that matches the one seen in the video on the guy. So, it's, the defense said, oh, once you hear this, it's such flimsy evidence. It's my client didn't do it. So, I don't know, man. That's pretty strong. Seems like it's pretty strong evidence to me. An unspent shell between the bodies. You match the description of the person in the video. No one else saw anybody other than one male on the trail that day. You. So, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. It's an interesting case, though. Very interesting case. We still don't know, their causes of death. I'm assuming, they didn't say in the affidavit, but I'm assuming they were shot and killed. We don't know if there was sexual assault involved. We have no idea because the autopsies were sealed. So, lots of other stuff to get to today. Oh, my goodness. So, let's just keep crocheting along. Okay. So, the George Wagner case, the never-ending Wagner case, we are on verdict watch. Case is over. We're on verdict watch. It was, I tuned in yesterday at the end to see, are they done with these closing arguments? The defense started in the morning with their closing argument. It went all day. Then they had the rebuttal of the prosecution. Then the judge had to read the jury instructions. So by the time I tuned in yesterday, it's 5 o'clock Eastern time. And they're on Eastern time. They're in Ohio. So the judge tells the jury, you can, if you want, you can start deliberating now. It's 5 o'clock. But I understand some of you might have obligations. I think one woman said, I got to pick up my kids. So he said, it's up to you. If you want to just go home, and they are not being sequestered, which I find very strange. 8 murders. Anyway. He said, it's up to you. If you guys want to go home and come back tomorrow morning, you tell me what time you want to come back. You can start deliberating then. So they decided amongst themselves 8:30, and they're on the East Coast time, so they're already deliberating this morning. And I do not expect a quick verdict because there's a lot to talk about. 8 murders, 4 crime scenes. So George Wagner is on trial for complicity in the murders of 8 members of the Roden family. His mother and his brother testified against him. And his brother did support. Yeah, he was there. He didn't kill anybody. He was there. And the fact that you were there, you were complicit. So, although the instructions did say that just because he was there doesn't make him complicit, he had to have done something to further the conspiracy, or, I don't know. It was very complicated. I don't know. And it's the evidence is all circumstantial, including, but I think the strongest piece of evidence is the shoes that Angela purchased these two pair of Walmart sneakers so they could commit the acts with special shoes on. One was a 10.5, one was 11 for her, one pair for Jake, one for George, and bloody footprints were found at the crime scenes for both shoes. So I think that's pretty strong evidence that George was there. Now, George is saying, nope, wasn't there. I woke up the next morning, heard about these murders. First I heard of it. Okay. Everyone else is lying. I'm the only one telling the truth. Okay. Well, we'll see what the jury thinks of that. It depends on who the jury finds more credible. Are they going to find Jake and Angela's testimony credible? Are they going to find George's testimony credible? I think this whole family is just this criminal enterprise. Like, the crimes that they were committing was just crazy. Arson for insurance purposes, selling cars, parts, they would buy. It's just crazy. Just all this crazy stuff that they were doing to make money, selling pot, growing pot. Yeah. Anyway, so verdict watch on the Wagner case. If they have a verdict, I'll go live with the verdict. Now, in federal court, we had a verdict yesterday on the seditious conspiracy charges that stem from the January 6th riots. Two gentlemen, the Oath Keeper founder, Stuart Rhodes, and another person, Kelly Meigs, were found guilty of seditious conspiracy. This is a very seldom used statute that came out of the Civil War, but used successfully in this case. There were three other people on trial that were part of the Oath Keepers that were found not guilty. So the jury felt that the case had not been proved, that they were actually conspiring ahead of time. But they did find everybody, all five were found guilty of obstructing an official proceeding. As you know, they were supposed to be, Congress was going to meet and ratify the election, certify the election, and that was interrupted by this January 6th nonsense. So, and these guys had they were willing to die for President Trump, and they needed to take action, and they wanted to make sure President Trump was still in office when they did take action. They had this huge cache of weapons at this hotel in Virginia. They appointed themselves, enforcers of this, Trump was giving a speech, and then they ended up down at the Capitol. It was crazy, just crazy. So seditious conspiracy that they were convicted on. The maximum sentence for that is 30 years in prison. And they had the other convictions. So these guys they're going to prison for this. And there are hundreds of people still waiting for trial. There's another trial for seditious conspiracy coming up in December, which tomorrow is December. So, yeah, to the point where, the federal prosecutors have asked for more money to, investigate all this stuff and get it to trial. It's just been a huge, big deal. And I think rightfully so. I think they should be investigated and sent and taken to trial. What they did was horrendous. That's just my opinion. I need coffee. And it's my show, and I give my opinion. Anyway, let's talk about the Border Patrol serial killer. Interesting day in court yesterday, day 2 of the trial. We had several officers on the stand. The first officer, these were troopers. So what happened was, once the woman that I talked about yesterday, Erica, who had been with, she's a prostitute. She had been with David Ortiz, Juan David Ortiz. She called him David. She had been with David before, but this time was different because he was mentioning Melissa, who was one of the women that were murdered. Melissa Ramirez, and he even told her, he says, I'm worried that they're going to find my DNA on her because I was the second to the last person to be with her. This freaked out Erica. So she goes and she finds a trooper. He gets her to the investigating officers of these prostitute murders. 3 of them had already occurred. And these were all prostitutes that she knew, some friends. So she gets to the investigators. She actually takes them to Juan Ortiz's house, David's house, because that's where he would take her, to his house. And they were able to identify, because he wasn't there. They looked up the location, property records came back to him. They found out what vehicle was driving, and she had mentioned that it was a white Dodge Ram truck. So they find his tag, they find his driver's license photo, they get it out there. They, to all the other troopers, Bolo, be on the lookout. Whatever it is you're doing, drop what you're doing and go look for this guy. And he's possibly armed. So the first guy to testify, the trooper, he drops everything he's doing and he's just looking for this truck. And he passes by this gas station. And he happens to see this white Dodge Ram pull into the gas station. And the person that gets out, he sees is Juan David Ortiz. He matches the driver's license description that they were all given. So he pulls in, and he pulls into the pumps to sort of act like he's going to get gas, and he calls for backup. And backup is there very quickly because another trooper was also in the area, and he testified as well. So I'm going to kind of combine all of this testimony. Several people after this event were testifying yesterday. So the other officer pulls in too. So the first officer gets his assault rifle out. And the reason he got out his assault rifle is because he's way at the pumps and this guy's in the store, and assault rifles better at distances. All right, I'm just going to go on a tangent here because I just hate assault rifles. Why do we need an assault rifle? It's one guy. You got a service weapon. Why do you need an assault rifle? Anyway, more about that later. So, David Ortiz, he comes out of this, I think it's called Spirit, this gas station, convenience store. He walks out and they're telling him, hands up, put your hands up and turn around and back up and get down. And they're yelling orders at him because by now the other officer's there and they're both got guns on him. So, and David, he's acting all confused. What's going on? And they're like, is that your vehicle? Yes, that's my vehicle. And the one guy says to him, listen, we just want to talk to you, just turn around, keep your hands up. We just want to talk to you. There's been a lot of murders and the vehicle you're driving seems to be involved in these murders. And we just want to talk to you. And as he's turning around, he starts running in the opposite direction of his truck. So now we're getting a body cam foot chase with assault rifles. So the first officer, his body cam falls off and gets run over by an 18-wheeler. So we don't get his footage. then so we get the second officer's body cam footage. So and then they chase him, around and around this neighborhood, and finally they narrow where he's gone down to either this property where there's a house or this parking garage, and they're not sure which one. So now they've got the SWAT team out there, they've got the investigators for the prostitute murders out there, everybody's running around with assault rifles. I'm like, really? What's wrong with your service weapon that you need? Why do you need an assault rifle? They've got bulletproof vests, and which I understand, because they thought he was armed, because Erica had said he threatened me with a gun. But I don't get the whole assault rifle thing. Anyway, so they quickly rule out, over the next 2.5 hours, they quickly rule out that he's at this property where the house is, and they narrow it down to this parking garage. So now they're going in, the SWAT team's going in with the assault rifles to this property, and they go up, and they're searching very carefully, floor by floor. They get to the 4th floor, and they find Juan David Ortiz hiding in the bed of a truck. And he's quickly handcuffed and brought down, and they ask him his name, and I think he says his name was David. So he is put under arrest and then transported to the police station. Now, the whole rest of the day was, a big portion of the day was a lot of back and forth between the prosecution and the defense about evidence. How was it collected? Who collected it? How do you know that that's the evidence that you collected? It's, the defense was trying very hard to put doubt in the mind of the juries as to the accuracy of the evidence collected. Did he say that was his truck? Do you consider that abandoning his truck? So one of the things they did when they apprehended David Ortiz is they said, "Where's your weapon?" And he said, "In the truck." So they thought it was in the bed of the truck where he was hiding. And when he's in the vehicle on the transport, the one guy that's with him, he gets on the radio and he says, "Listen, he's talking in code, the 32, which is a weapon. It's a 10 code. 32 is in the truck, and you need to search that truck." So Ortiz, he's sitting in the back seat next to Ortiz. Ortiz corrects him. Now he's Border Patrol, so he knows these codes. He's like, "No, my truck, my personal truck that's over at the convenience store." So the guy gets on the radio and he tells him, "No, it's in the," well, they knew it was the personal truck by this point, but they had told him, he was on the radio telling the other officers to look in the bed of the truck. And Ortiz corrects him and says, "No, it's in the driver's side door. It's not in the bed of the truck. It's in the driver's side door." So he tells them it's in the driver's side door. Now, of course, the defense points out, now at this point, had you read him his Miranda rights? No, I was told not to read him his Miranda rights yet because we weren't questioning him. And at no time did I ask him any questions. He volunteered this information about where the weapon was. So, interesting. So then they brought in the investigator, the lead investigator for the prostitute murders, and he starts detailing the different crime scenes. So he talks about the first crime scene, which was Melissa Ramirez. And I felt so bad because, and I'm assuming this was the camera was on two women in the pews. I don't know, I call them pews, church pews. They're there. And it looked like, I'm going to guess, sister and mom, just sobbing, because now they're showing photos. He said that, and they had a map, and the prosecution asked the lead investigator, "Can you put a thumbtack in to show me exactly where her body was found on the map?" And then later on, he's going to put thumbtacks in for the other bodies as well, because they were all pretty much in the same proximity, which was outside of Laredo on these dirt roads off the highway. And the first body was Melissa Ramirez, and it was came through by a 911 caller who said, you know, I saw this truck out there, and they described the truck, and he had given the license plate number, and then they found his body. Well, they interviewed the driver of that truck, and he was found out he had nothing to do with this murder. It wasn't David Ortiz. So they go to this crime scene. They find Melissa. She's face down in the dirt, clearly has head trauma. She was shot in the head. She's clutching a bag of M&Ms, and she has no shoes on. She's wearing a top, a pair of shorts. And so now these two women are just bawling, like, and the victim advocates are like hovering, you know, handing them tissues. It was just heartbreaking that, you know, yes, these women were prostitutes, but they had family, people that loved them. Not enough to love them to get them off the streets, but they loved them. And, you know, people are going to do what they're going to do. You know, you can't make them, you know, come clean from their heroin addiction and stay off the streets. It, you know, that's just, it is what it is, and it's so unfortunate. But anyway, she had people that loved her. Then he described Claudine Noella, who was the second victim, who was found, same circumstances, off a highway. There was not a lot of time spent on how these victims were found. I will tell you that. It's just the investigators were called. We went out. Here's what we saw. Here's what we did. We took pictures. We called the medical examiner. He came out. He examined the bodies. Here's the pictures. Here's where we found them. But at the first crime scene, there were numerous shell casings, that 40 caliber shell casings that were found at that site. Now, at this point in the day, it's late in the day. I've got like 45 minutes to an hour left of the trial testimony, and I was exhausted. So I'm going to listen to that today, catch you up on day 3 tomorrow. But this is a very interesting case. Very interesting. I'm curious how they tie in the Border Patrol agent. I kept hoping they were going to get to his interrogation, but that didn't happen. Maybe that'll happen today. I really want to see the interrogation, because this is where he does his false confession. And apparently the officer that drove in the back seat with him witnessed the interrogation. He didn't conduct the interrogation, but he witnessed it from another room. And guess who else witnessed it? His bosses at the Border Patrol. Yeah, they were there listening. They were in a conference room where there's a TV, because there's a camera in the interrogation room, so they were all able to watch the interrogation live. So we want to see the interrogation. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe that's today. So, wow, lots of stuff going on. Yeah, crazy, huh? I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Let's see. Did I miss anything? Border Patrol, Wagner, Richard Allen, seditious conspiracy. I think we're good for the day. Guys, have a great Wednesday. Don't forget, I'll be live tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time for Craft With Me Wednesday. I think I'm going to clear everything out and get out the watercolor paints. I haven't had those out in a month. And it's a craft that I absolutely adore. My co-host was not here today. He was here before I started taping, and then he abandoned me. He's always busy, Stitch. He's got something to do. He's got places to go, people to see. Anyway, have a great Wednesday. I hope to see you tonight in Craft With Me Wednesday. Has nothing to do with crime, all about crafting. But if you want to talk about crime, I'm there. So I love you all. Have a wonderful day. If not, I will see you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. Take care, everybody. Bye.